right, welcome back to Off the Tap. This week is episode 99, and we're doing Stone Brewing Pilsner.
Pilsner. Were you trying to go silent on that? Wah, 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 wah.
No. I just had a little bit of a break in my voice. I think it's Stone Brewing Pilsner.
Okay, cool. I've just been wanting to do the what is that? That's not an air horn, but it's like they do it at soccer games all the time.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I'm sure there's a special name for it, but
like a series of horns going off.
And then,
yeah. They do it in a lot of high school sports too. You know what I mean?
Dude, yeah, honestly, the only reason that I think about it is there was a show, very quickly before we get into the stats on this thing. There was a show on, I don't know what the network was, because obviously I fall victim to the same trap of everyone else these days. Like, I just watch it streaming. But it was called, I don't know what the original network was. But it was called Superstore. Did you ever see that?
Okay, yeah. Well, no, I never saw it, but I think it was like either ABC or
or NBC or something.
NBC or something, I think. Yeah, it was one of the, like,
I
the
remember
large
the
networks.
Peacock kind of thing. And so anyways, it was basically a Walmart ripoff. Like, it was they were all, I mean, it was Superstore, but it was Walmart employees, right? Whatever. But anyways, I always forgot, like, I didn't ever associate that horn with anything. Like, I remember hearing it, like, obviously in sporting events, things like that. But in that show, one of the girls that works there has, like, a dumbass boyfriend that's just an idiot. And he's just a freaking idiot. And at one point, he gets a job at the store so that he can spend more time with her. And, which, again, shows you his just robust volume of logic. Anyways, and there's at one point where they're like, "Hey, you're fired," and he's like, "Bum, bum, bum, bum. I'm staying around." Like, just the way that he does the horn. I remember me and Katie just laughing forever because it was out of nowhere. Like, you weren't expecting him. Like, the horn makes no sense, but he did it with his mouth, and it was just perfect. And so now, every time I do that, I think of his. Oh man, it's just so good.
It's perfect. Yeah, so this is Stone Brewing Pilsner. Clearly, it's an ale. No, I'm just kidding. It's a Pilsner, obviously. Coming in at 4.7% ABV and 30 IBUs.
Damn!
Yeah, that's what I said, too. I'm a little interested on this, because a lot of the other Pilsners we've done have all been around, like, the 15 to 20-ish range. Or even lower than that, actually, based on some of these. So it's kind of stout, IBU-wise.
2 quick comments. Whenever I know that this doesn't work, but for some reason I always associate higher IBUs with higher ABV. Does that make sense?
I understand why, but from doing this podcast, that has been disproven to me.
It is disproven, and but it still stays with me, and I think it's maybe because of IPAs.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Absolutely.
IPAs usually have right?
Yeah.
And then the second thing I was going to say, which doesn't make quite as much sense, or there's not quite as much correlation, is I don't get 30 IBUs from the graphics on the can. It seems like it would be very passive. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah, it does.
Okay.
Also, you know, I was looking at where Stone Brewing is. So they were originated, or they started, originally opened in San Diego County in 1996.
Gotcha.
And then
where? I'm sorry, where?
In San Diego County.
Okay.
In 1996. And they now have 2 facilities, one on either coast, one in Escondido, California, and one in Richmond, Virginia.
Really? So they just straight up went for it. They were like, "Listen, we got the West, at least territorially, we've got some distribution, but we got to get far east."
Yeah. So this is the first time I've even heard of Stone Brewing.
It sounds like, to me, whenever we saw it and we were buying it, I thought to myself, I'm like, "Oh yeah," in my mind I was like, "Oh yeah, Stone Brewing," and then I was like, "Wait a second, is it just because it's simple and it seems memorable, or is it because I've actually read it?"
And the branding on this particular can seems pretty, like, I don't want to say like simple, but like recognizable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like a recognizable thing. Also, did not expect it to be from California. I don't know why. When I think Stone Brewing, I'm thinking like Colorado or something like that. You know, like somewhere in the middle of the United States somewhere.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I necessarily associate it with that, but I don't immediately associate it with California.
Yeah. So it threw me off a little bit, but That's cool though, you know?
Uh, just real quick before we pop in, I'm going to read the back of the can. Pilsner for the people, which again, it's kind of got that MO if we look at the can. But Pilsner for the people,
Mhm.
it takes a skilled brewer to make a great Pilsner, and we've been honoring our skill for more than a quarter of a century. Originally brought to America by German immigrants, Pilsners here have evolved through the creativity of American brewers and ingredient growers. Classic, crisp, and crushable. Ooh, with a light touch of cashmere and Vista hops for good measure. This is a Pilsner for the people. Uh, I might be an idiot here, but isn't cashmere what they make sweaters out of?
That's, you know what? I thought that too because I was looking at the ingredients here on the website before we got started. And the way their website is, it's kind of hard to see where it says, what's being listed here. Like, for example, they got featured hops and they've got cashmere and Vista or Vista, or you want to say it, underneath it. And they got the flavor profile, but like every category is in a color I can't really see. So I just immediately saw cashmere and Vista and I was like, cashmere?
Yeah.
Man, this must be an
Also,
insanely soft beverage. You know?
yeah, it feels good until you wash it, kind of beverage.
Yeah, yeah. And then it's
Cashmere,
itchy as hell.
um, also makes me think of Zeppelin, but let's hold the note on that until we get into tasting this. I don't know if you can see color, but I mean, dude, super clear, super straight up.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's pretty
Also,
nice.
it has a suds that rides the side of the glass, which is nice. I like it.
Cashmere makes me think of Seinfeld. Do you
Um,
remember that?
why? No, not in particular, and I feel a little guilty for not knowing that one right off
Isn't
the cuff.
isn't there an episode of Seinfeld where I could be wrong, it could be a different fabric, but where oh my gosh, why am I blanking now?
I don't know.
The bald guy.
George?
Yes, George. Oh my God, I'm so mad. Like, you're mad you don't remember this episode. I'm mad I can't remember George, but I think I'm in a worse position here.
Yes,
George
Paulo.
buys, oh my God. Oh my God.
Is it a tracksuit? What are you doing? What is
He
happening
buys a
right now?
sweater for Elaine,
Okay.
but he buys it off the clearance rack because it has one like red dot on it,
Yeah.
right? So they have it on clearance, and he's like, "Oh, well, I'll buy it." And isn't it a cashmere sweater?
I don't. It's the red dot sweater, but what was it called?
The sweater? I don't know.
I
Um,
don't know if it was cashmere. It was a cashmere sweater.
yeah. So and he takes it, and she's so pumped up about it, and she's like wearing it around, and someone goes, I think it's Kramer comes in, and he's like, "Oh, what happened to your sweater?" And it's just the tiniest dot. You can barely even see it. And then
Yeah.
she that's when she realizes, "Oh, he got it on sale," and it becomes like a whole thing. Cuz she
I
tries to
see.
take it back, and they're like, "No, that one was sold with the red dot. Like it was ruined, I think, or something."
Oh, and so she can't return it. So then she's like, "Oh, he got me like a
Yeah.
fucking discount sweater."
Yeah,
Like, yeah,
discount sweater. Yeah.
I see. I see.
It's just hilarious cuz
Um,
I mean, I know you can picture that, right? Kramer walking in and being like, "Oh no, what happened to your sweater?" You know what I
oh
mean?
yeah, not like just innocently, but it causing massive issues.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You can definitely
Um,
taste the hops in this thing.
yeah, but also I would not have. I mean, not that I can nail it down to the number, but I don't get 30 IBUs from it.
Really? I mean, I get
Do you?
I get a lot of hops, man. I get a lot of
I mean,
IBUs.
but I think it's just because we associate pilsners with zero bitterness
Yeah, well,
almost.
exactly.
Yeah, I mean it's there. It actually it it doesn't hit you right away, but as you kind of let
Mm,
your tongue dry out, it lingers. It's
yeah.
got what we're gonna call the cranberry effect, and not the fruit, because
Oh.
that's what you thought was the fruit because it's bitter. I'm talking
Mm,
about the band because do you
oh.
have to do you have to do you have to let it linger? That's where I was going with
Oh,
that.
okay.
It's actually a
Okay.
double. Technically, is that a double entendre? We don't have time to Google that. Bing will never return the answer on that.
No,
But
no, they won't.
but yeah, there's two meanings there. It's the cranberry effect. The hops in this and the IBUs have the cranberry effect because they linger.
Yeah, they do linger, and you're right. It does kind of after the fact mainly. I feel like that's a lot of times with high IBU beers, but it's a lot different of an experience when it's not like a thick, IPA.
Yeah. It doesn't it's toeing the line on IBA, but it's lighter, It's not as I tell you what, you're kind of getting the uh the benefits of an IPA, fucking way too many acronyms right now.
Yeah,
You're getting you're getting the benefit of the IBUs in an IPA without the heaviness of those. So this could be
yeah,
dangerous.
yeah. This could
Well,
be, yeah,
I say dangerous, but the ABVs, to use yet again another acronym,
yeah,
is only 4.7. So we're not even like just generic American beer Pilsner strength.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah,
Well, I mean, not Pilsner, but like like a Budweiser's 5.0. I think Rolling Rock. No, not Rolling Rock.
yeah. I mean,
Most of the.
we've had some pilsners up in the fives and some down in the fours down here, so kind of all over the
I
place.
I am a little confused. Just real quick before we move on, I'm a little confused by the branding a little bit though. It's like Stone Pilsner, and like I said, I didn't get any of the. I would not have by looking at the can been like this is a. Usually the ones that are more bitter are just like from a distance. You're like,
There's
oh,
like a
that's gonna
there's
be
like a
fucking
hop
rowdy.
bomb on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's just
Yeah.
full of hops. Like you pop the can and it's like those little worms that they
You
stuff in
could,
the thing
yeah,
and the hops just jump
yeah.
out.
You
But
could you could
but
cook with it. You could pour it in and put it on top of your steak as like a.
you got to chew most of them. But the thing is this, the can also just doesn't like it's Pilsner for the people. It's American, but also is that their emblem? It looks like the
Yes.
devil from the Pick of
Okay.
Destiny.
So yes, yeah. So that's what I saw first too. I was like, oh yeah, Devil from Pick of Destiny, right?
Mhm.
It's a gargoyle. That's what
Oh,
it is.
okay.
I saw that on their website. Yeah.
Was that not for some reason, and I guess I should remember this, but wasn't that a cartoon show in the 90s?
Gargoyle?
Gargoyles, the Gargoyles.
I remember there being gargoyles in like the Hercules movie or something, or the Hunchback of
The
Notre
Hunchback
Dame.
of Notre Dame. Yeah.
Yeah, Notre
But
Dame.
but there was I think there was like a Saturday morning cheesy like, they
Yeah,
all
I
had the
think you're
same
right.
animation.
I think you're
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Um yeah, we learned about like for some reason, I don't know why, but we learned a lot about gargoyles. Like they were on like castles and shit. Like that's not the topic obviously of today that we plan to cover, but there's like a purpose for the like obviously they were very decorative and it was like
Well,
cathartic for the artist, but what was the purpose of them? To ward
s-
off spirits or animals?
yeah, so on the bottom of their website here, they have like a description of it. And it says gargoyles are historically known as protectors against evil spirits. Since the beginning, our stone gargoyle has represented our ceaseless quest to create the most awesome beers imaginable. Think of the gargoyle as the big friend that's got your back, ever vigilant, ever watchful, and ever your humble servant.
Okay. So I zoned out at the very beginning of what you said, but the rest of it made sense. And so I see why that's they're
They're
promoting the.
they're protectors of evil spirits.
I got you. One thing I want to bring up too, and we're just going to put a pin in this because I think this is definitely going to divide any audience that might be listening. But they call out the fact that this is vegan. That's probably true about most beers. But where is yeast on that situation? You
Mm,
know? Because, like, it's living. I'm just saying. Anyways, don't even
yeah,
answer that. We're going to move on.
yeah, we're gonna move on from that because I'm not really
But
sure.
I feel like saying vegan beer is kind of like saying gluten-free water. You know what I mean? It's kind
Yeah,
of like a given. You know what I mean?
yeah, no, yeah, that's true. It's like whenever I always get pumped up now whenever I see like potato chips because I have a lot of people in my life that are gluten free now,
Yeah, yeah.
and a lot of potato chips now advertise on their bag gluten free, but then I'm like, well, yeah, it's just potatoes.
Exactly.
So
And
yes,
fried oil.
they're gluten. Yeah, of course it's gluten free. You know.
Did we? I don't know if we talked about this on pod or off pod, but did we talk about the fact that like you really know that you're getting old when you enjoy just the OG potato chip? Was that
Oh
you and me
yeah,
talking about that?
yes, that was us talking about that. Yeah.
Dude, the other day for like one of my favorite, like a little. This is how you can tell you're getting older. Like just a little treat to myself every now and then is I'll make like a real rockin' like tuna salad or a
Oh
chicken salad or something.
yes.
And so at lunchtime I go in there, dude, I toast that bread, I freaking
Mm,
melt that cheese, I put that right. And when I split it on a diagonal, of course, and then I dump chips in the middle, they always got to be the OG, just potatoes. Like it's
yeah.
straight up deli style.
Yeah.
Um, and that is one of the most rewarding things. But we
Yeah.
talk way too much about food and sandwiches.
Well, yeah. We're gonna move on from food in a second, but
Welcome back to another hour of just sandwiches.
yeah, that should be the name of the podcast. Honestly, just sandwiches. Um, but
Sandwiches?
going on that really quick before we do move on is I've gotten to the point, growing up as a kid, you kind of get into this rhythm when you eat a sandwich where you throw chips on the sandwich,
Oh yeah, for
right?
sure.
And I'm not opposed to that still, but
No. Why would you? Okay, go
no,
ahead.
no, no, but I'm much more of a classic man now where I just want my sandwich and then I want the chips on the side. And like you're
Yes.
saying, I want most of the time I just want a good generic potato chip, despite the
Yeah,
heartburn it's going to give me later.
I feel it being all or nothing, you know? Like if I'm doing I just don't play in that normal realm of chipping. Like I think for years, I swear, and then we'll move past. I either want like a regular OG, and it can be a fancy one, but just like a OG chip. It could be fresh cut, it could be regular Lay's, it could be whatever, but just potato, grease, salt. Okay. Or I want something just off the rails, like craw taters or like spicy dill Cajun pickle. Like
Yeah.
I don't want some of the ones that play in the middle. Like I'm not a sour cream and onion guy anymore. Like that's kind of just
Yeah.
what do the youth say these days? That's mid, right?
Oh God. Yeah.
Sorry, dude. I just had to. Dude. I'm trying to
It's
stay
just
hip.
it's
I'm with
not
it. I'm cool.
I'm not oh godding you trying to join in. I just hate that term. I can't stand the terminology.
I just have to just use them every now and then to make sure that they're in context properly.
Yeah. Make sure
Okay,
that you're understanding it from an outside perspective.
100%. So, yeah. So as we kind of okay, so the can doesn't make me think at all. I can't again. And you explained the gargoyle thing; it makes a little more sense. But I was like, American Pride with a devil on the can doesn't correlate to IBUs of 30. But now I kind of get what's going on. And again, this is one particular opinion from a distance, having never been introduced to Stone. Because I think one thing we should say too is that a lot of times we're already familiar. Like we've talked a lot about like Lucky 19. We've talked a lot about
Hmm.
Southern Star, like the ones that are local. Like even though they're local and they are craft brews, that brand to us is very familiar. So like when
Yeah.
we see, even if it's something new they put out, we see it from a distance and we go, oh, I know what they're trying to convey with that because I know
Yeah.
how Southern Star ticks, or I know how, right? But with
Right.
Stone, maybe because of familiarity, I don't know exactly what they were trying to convey. So if I was more familiar with their brand overall or their beers overall, it might have come to me quicker. I'd have been like, oh yeah, it's obviously an American respectful crispy pilsner with cashmere in it. I don't know if I go that far, but
It's going to be very soft on the tongue.
the tip of the tongue with teeth.
Yeah, exactly.
So, on that note, things that I thought again, so the can doesn't make me think of that heavy IBUs. It doesn't make me think of like American Pride or Gargoyles or whatever. But it makes me think of a number of things. And they go in this order. So I was like Stone Pilsner. And to me, when you say Stone Pilsner and just the way that it is, I just thought mid-level cover band, mid-level rock band, right? Stone Pilsner, dude, could be they're just crushing 90s hits.
Oh
Okay.
yeah.
But then it made me think like the Rolling Stones, Stone
Mm.
Sour, then Like a Stone by Audio Slave, And then Stony LaRue, and again, we're switching genres here, but Stony LaRue, like there's a lot of bands, songs, things that correlate or
Yeah.
that are allied with
The
Stone.
the Stone Temple Pilots.
Oh, good call. Even see,
You
that's
know.
one that I forgot.
Yeah. Great era of
Yeah.
music that was, honestly.
Well, oh no, that's yeah. They don't agree. Solid. I was like, why don't we get stoned? I think that's a song, I'm sure. But then I thought of the Beatles and why don't we do it in the road? And then it got off the rails. But I'm sure there's a song about getting stoned.
Oh, there's got to be. I mean, there's plenty of them.
Oh, Hinder. Remember that song?
Yeah,
Go home, get stoned.
yeah. Go home and get stoned.
Dude, what a time, you know? And we were
Wow.
just yeah, we were just not only were we letting that happen, but we were supporting it. So then it made me think, which I had mentioned to you right before we jumped on, but then it made me think of the just because in my head instantly, right? All this is happening as you're aware, like you have a very similar uh pathway when you think of something, but it's like I thought of Stone Pilsner, and then I was like Rolling Stone, Stone Sour, Like a Stone, Audio Slave, Stone Leader LaRue. It all happens instantly.
Yeah.
And then I was like the Eli Young band. What ever happened to the Eli Young band? And then you recently you said, okay, you enlightened me. You said what now?
Well, I
That they
mean,
are still making.
yeah, they're still making. I think the last time they released an album was 2022 or something. Which I have to I have to go back a little bit because whenever they released Jet Black and Jealous, I think was the album, right?
Yeah,
Their
it's
second album.
oh Nate.
Oh 08, I think. Yeah, oh 08 or oh
Yeah.
09 or something. Big fan. And here's the reason why I was a big
Hmm.
fan. It's because I went with a buddy and saw them at the rodeo, right?
Oh,
And it was like I think it was my third ever concert. And so I'm there getting live music and I'm just about it, man. I was like, hell yeah. And I bought the album there or the
yeah.
CD, bought the CD there and I was just all about it. And I would jam the hell out of it. And, there, I mean, I know you were you did not like them very much.
No. I
No?
was yeah, I was a fan. And actually, yeah. So the first, I wasn't a huge fan when they first came on the scene, which would
Okay.
have been I don't know when their first exact album is. I'm gonna find out when Jet Black and Jealous happened. Yeah, Jet Black and Jealous happened in 2008, and I'll
Mhm.
tell you why that is such an iconic. At least I don't think it's always dude, it's fucking food or music. We are just one trick
I
ponies.
mean, that's
But
what we
anyways,
do, man.
there's something very iconic about where you are in life when you hear something. I used to think it was the other way around. I used to think like life is good because you're hearing this, right?
Yeah.
Right? But now that I think back now, I think it's you remember the things you were listening to because of
Because,
that time in your life,
oh yeah,
right?
for sure.
Okay. So, anyways, Eli Young came on the scene, I don't know, I don't know, like '03 or something like that, '04 or something like that.
Mhm.
And they had like a self-titled album, and then they had an independent album that had Small Town Kid and like some other stuff on it. And I just wasn't a fan of that album. And counterintuitive to my norm hipster self, I guess, if that's a term people still use, whenever they went Nashville, which would have been Jet Black and Jealous, that is actually when I started liking them a lot more.
Yeah.
Um,
Which is contrary to most of our country beliefs.
Correct. And to my normal MO, and I don't care if you're making country music or if you're making any music, I just normally the indie records. I mean, like I was a huge fan of, and I mean, I'm still a fan of Weezer, but like I was a huge fan of Weezer when they were self producing, and it was all kind of
Yeah.
like they let them put this trash out, but we loved it. And then when
Yeah.
they went to doing, actual produced stuff, we were like, hey, this isn't Weezer. Anyways, all that being said, the Jet Black and Jealous album was at a very crucial time. But what did you like about it? You said it was just because you experienced them live first, is the thing?
Yeah, it's because that was the first time I ever heard them. Like it's interesting because this year I went to the rodeo and I went and saw someone I'd never heard of before. Right? I think I can't even remember his name now.
Must
Uh,
not have been that great. I was just gonna make a point. I was just gonna make a point, but you have screwed that up.
okay, my bad. But
No, I mean it's fine. I'm still gonna make it, but go ahead.
I don't think he was horrible. It's just not my style of music. You know what I mean? But on the way there, we were like, hey, let's listen to some of his music, right? And like get prepared for what we're going to be listening to. And so we did that. But when I went and watched Eli Young Band, I'm not able to do that back in 2008 or 9 or whatever
Yeah.
it was when they were at the rodeo for that album, you know? And so I just show up blind. I have no idea who these people are. Uh, and I thought they were, I just thought it was good, fun, good singing country music. You know what I mean? Like good modern music. And so I was excited. I listened to the album a lot. I still have some of the songs on my phone because of kind of like what you're saying. I don't necessarily love their music now, but I like that stuff because it was what I listened to back then, and I associate it with those memories. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was gonna say that I feel, which your current example that you just said about this year kind of negates this, but I think I have a lot of examples of, somebody invites you, like a friend's like, hey, we got tickets to this, or hey, we're going to see this band that they love, and or whatever. But like they're like, hey, we're going to see whatever, and you go and you see them, and it's you don't know anything about them. Maybe you heard some stuff in the car on the way over, or like you kind of knew who they were, but you've never really actually sat down and listened to any of their like an album
Mm,
start to finish, and you see them the first time, or it's a completely shock. You're just like, hey, we're going to, somebody's like, hey, show up at this time in this place, and you're like, all right, and you go there and you see them. If you make a connection, there's obviously ones that that you're not going to be a fan of, but if you make a connection, I feel like that connection really never goes away. Like you will always you will go seek their album, you will buy. I mean, some people do merch, but like I just feel like that connection is something that doesn't happen if you are more informed about someone before you go and see them for the first time. You know what I'm
right.
saying?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
So Eli Young Band wasn't. I had never seen them. I still don't think I've ever seen them. Maybe at a fair or something. But I have an example of one that I think maybe I've shared before. But with Eli Young Band, honestly, and this is why it came up. So I thought to myself, Stone Pilsner. We went through that transition. Through all of that, what transpired there. And then I asked Katie, I'm like, whatever happened to Eli Young Band? And she was like, hey, they actually just had a county fair concert that they were too intoxicated to go on and perform in like Oklahoma, opening up for someone who's drastically larger. And then it clicked. I was like, oh, that's where they're at in their career.
Yeah.
Like they're just not going to go any further, and like this they're on the casino circuit or the lounge circuit, but obviously for country music that's like county fairs and shit. Um but the Jet Black and Jealous album for me, like that was when me and her first started like seeing each other. But I was in Louisiana and she was all the way still at Sam, and so
Mm,
dude, so I had bought the album. I don't know why, but I had bought like I mean CD because I had a CD player then.
yeah.
But I I had a class that ran until like 2 because it was culinary school. But I had a class that after we ran a restaurant every Friday, Wednesday and Friday. And so Friday I had the dinner service. And so dude, we closed at like 11, 10:30, 11, and then we had to clean up, get everything stowed away, get all that. And so I would literally leave the parking lot of the college at like 1 a.m. and I would throw in Jet Black and Jealous and I would just listen to it over and over as I made the 5 hour and
Yeah.
45-minute drive
Like
to
seven,
Sam.
7 or 8 times over on the way.
Yes, every single Friday for like a while. Okay. Like, I'm not gonna say like sometimes I'd have to work, but like if I was not work, like if I was off that weekend, which was kind of, I mean, I don't know, which was kind of rare, but like it was like every other weekend at least I would go, and it was just crazy.
Yeah.
Um, so anyways, that's why it's like just burned, and like when I can almost, it's one of those CDs that like up until probably a couple of years ago you could have asked like what is track 6, or actually 7, and I would have been like Guinevere or like whatever,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
like just knew that many radio waves, right? Track 4. Like you
See,
just
and
there was
Radio
so
Waves
many.
was one of the bangers to me on that album.
Um yeah, I mean obviously when it rains was what was on the
What?
radio, I think
Yeah,
at least local radio at the time.
yeah.
Um
But you think they would have put
but
Radio Waves on the radio? That's, you know what I mean?
they might have afterwards, but it wasn't always the biggest, you know. Yeah, I don't remember, but um
Yeah.
I will say that also then later on I found out that they met at UNT because then like fast forward now, this was 2008 when this was going on. Fast forward um you know, couple of years, 2 years, 3 years, we lived in Denton because I'd moved up there and they had met at UNT. So we got the whole this is where they used to play and this is who they knew and this is all that stuff. So it was pretty cool. But again, I was never that really into them.
Yeah, no, I think the last time I listened to any of their new stuff was 2011, I guess, when they released what Crazy Girl, that album, you know what
Yes,
song
that would have
that,
been the next one after Jet Black and
yeah, that
Jealous.
was right after Jet Black and Jealous, and that song coupled with there was another song on that album that went crazy when I was in middle school, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everyone loved them, and I mean they were good. I didn't like them as much as Jet Black and Jealous songs, but again, that's because of the experience that I had of that album. You know what I mean? And I think we've talked about this before about how much different music is now, where like now if there's like an album released like that now, I usually don't listen to the whole thing over and over and over again. Right? You go through it once, you
Just hear the
save the
singles.
songs you
Oh,
like, and then you listen to those songs. But like back when it was CD era, right? Or even before then, I
yeah.
would imagine it was even more so with like cassettes and whatnot, you know?
Well, yeah.
But like you would put it in and you letting it play. You know what I mean? Like
Well,
the times you skip a song on a CD in the car were very rare. Let's be
I
honest.
think you're right, and here's why: is because like first off, which I'm not saying CDs were, but like music now is way too affordable. I know people bitch about it, but you know whatever, $15, whatever. I don't know how much Apple Family Music is, Spotify.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
mean,
know,
let's say
whatever, right? But
$15 a month.
whatever you're saying, $15 a month to literally all music that ever existed
Yeah,
at
listen
any
to
given time,
anything at any moment.
right? And so, back in the day, even with I'm not gonna say CDs, like records. If we go further back, like our parents, first off, you couldn't afford them. Okay,
Yeah.
so if you bought one, you're gonna wear that fucker out. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, and you didn't have another option. Like, you would play
Exactly.
this, and you would be like, "Hey, we don't have anything else
It
but
would
this
stop
one
at
other."
a
Yeah,
party and someone would be like, "Yo, let me have the aux." They'd be like, "Flip it over, play the B
yeah,
side."
yes. And they would be like, "If we're tired of listening to this, we can listen to the one other record that we
Yeah.
have." Right?
Yeah.
So people just listened to everything. And
Mhm.
CDs were the same way too. I mean, like, yes, I think obviously they got to an affordable point where you could, I had a ton of them, right? Because they were
Yeah.
affordable. But you would still, it would, there was a lot more. You would put it in the CD player and you would listen to a couple of songs. And I remember doing this, and I don't know if this makes me lazy, but like being like 4 tracks in, going, "Yeah, there's only fucking 10 on it. Like, I'll just let it play through." You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. For
And so yeah,
sure.
it was just different. Now you don't have to. Also now, like back then, you had to like work to create playlists, right?
Yeah.
You
You had to
you
put
had
them
to,
on the computer. You had to
yeah,
burn them onto something, burn them onto a CD, put them on something, work
or
through, and then
record.
and then your playlist, it can only be so many songs because the CD can only hold so much information. You know?
Dude, we would record them on tape first, and then after that, then we got obviously CDs you could burn. But then, do you remember MP3 CDs?
No,
Do you
I
remember
don't.
that?
No.
Oh, dude. So
Maybe?
there was a time right before I don't want to say I mean I guess USB, like but before iPods and USB, there was a very short, I'm going to call it the 8 track of the late 90s, where you could burn an MP3 CD so they were compressed. So like a regular CD, if you got 20 tracks on it, maybe, you
Yeah.
know, it would fill that sucker up. Obviously based on length.
Yeah.
But it would fill that sucker up. But if you got an MP3 CD, you could get like 60 songs on it
Yeah.
because
That's
they were
crazy.
compressed. Yeah.
Okay.
But you had to have something that could burn
You
MP3s,
know,
and you also had to have a player that would read it too.
in a sense, obviously we've gone forward with technology, right? With the accessibility of things. But if I'm being honest with you, I think the way that we consume content now is a lot simpler in technology terms to me than
What do you
like
mean?
so think like I feel like the technology of a CD player or like a record player being able to put a needle on some
Oh
vinyl
yeah.
and play music is significantly more like thought out than just a digital file. You know what I mean? I mean, clearly computers are insane, so that's a little. I'm being a little like broad with my thought process here, but you know what I'm saying? Like how did CD players work? You know what I mean?
I
That's kind of insane.
I don't know. And I remember at a certain, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure we could, obviously, with all of our technology, we could just YouTube it real quick.
Yeah.
But I remember doing something one time that I want to get back to in a minute. But the other thing with, so I just remember, and I don't, I guess we could say that about our music now. But I just remember like when CDs came out, not my generation, but like older generations in their mind, having lived through records, we've kind of reverted back, but having lived through records and 8 tracks and cassettes, I just remember everybody going, "This is the best sound quality that will ever exist." Like
Yeah.
for years and years to come, the CD will be the best, hands down sound quality that will ever exist. Like that's what the older generation thought, and I don't know if they're wrong because the way that we listen to music now is different. But I don't know if quality between a CD and an MP3 is drastically different.
I don't think so. I mean, unless you scratch the CD, clearly.
Okay, so that brings me back to this when you asked how do they work. I remember on burn CDs, we had a theory. Like I couldn't ever. Man, I wish I had a disc, but obviously they don't fucking exist anymore. But like like the disc is like this. Are the songs recorded like an album?
That's what I'm
Right?
saying because it
Okay, but
spins.
I don't think so. I think the songs are like this. I don't know, okay? But I remember very, very specifically burning a CD and then taking and scratching a circle in it and then playing the song and seeing if, like, okay, track 1, 2, and 3 will be fine, but track 4 and 5 are going to be jacked, right?
Yeah.
And then also remember taking another one that was same songs burned and then scratching it vertically like this and seeing if one track or if all tracks would be messed up. And unfortunately, I do not remember the outcome of my intricate research. However,
So this entire thing was said for no reason.
yeah, I don't remember how it played out, but the concept of the experiment and the design was great. Capturing the
Yeah.
data was no great.
The writing down of the conclusion was not very well done.
Nope. And here I sit 20 or more years later, and I have no clue.
Yeah. See, and even more so, like the idea of an album today still blows my mind. The fact that they figured out how to
Oh,
put
I know.
music on a vinyl circle and it played that well.
Dude, it makes no sense to me. And when you talk about technology, like I think
It's a
maybe it's our
needle on
generation.
vinyl.
I know, but when you talk about like you thought that is a lot more intricate than what we do now. If somebody explained to me how an MP3 works or how you upload to iTunes or how iTunes plays back, immediately I'm like, oh, makes solid sense. But if somebody's like, hey, this is what a needle's actually doing on vinyl, I'm like, whew, I don't get it. You
I
know what
don't
I mean? Like I don't
understand.
understand how it works.
Yeah, it makes no sense. And then
Is
that's
it
why I'm
reading vibrations? I don't know.
well, I mean, I assume in some way, but like, how are you getting it to play 8 tracks on one vinyl or whatever.
Well, because it's just going in a it's
Well,
like one big.
I know, but like it's got words on it, bro.
Yeah, I don't
Someone's
know.
talking. There's a dude that went into a studio and recorded this, and I'm hearing it from a piece of rubber
I know,
with a
dude.
needle on it.
It is mind blowing.
I
It
know. I
is
don't think
very
it's not
mind blowing.
rubber, but you know what I mean.
I think of a couple of things. I think of have you ever seen the it's like a tweet, Alexander Graham Bell is like, "Hey, you guys aren't going to believe what I just came up with." And then if they could tweet back in the day, he would say like, "You guys aren't going to believe what I just came up with." Obviously inventing the telephone. And then it says his brother Taco, "I've also got some good things in the works." You
Okay.
know what I
Yeah.
mean? I just thought that
Yeah.
was pretty good. But
Yeah.
speaking of tech, this is an opportune time to not only talk about tweets, but to talk about technology. So recently, and it's been quite some time back because obviously we were busy for the past couple of weeks, but everybody was impacted, or most, not most, but I would say like 60% of the world, at least airlines, which I'm going to get to in a minute, were impacted by the Microsoft update crash that
Yep.
basically shut down a large percentage of the world.
We were almost
Um,
impacted 2 weeks ago. We almost
really?
couldn't do the episode because I couldn't get the beer info.
Oh
You
my
remember?
God. Oh yeah, I remember that real time that was happening.
I have a beer info Excel spreadsheet that I have all this info in, and I couldn't access it because it's
Yeah.
saved in my OneDrive.
They will never, no one will ever understand the struggle of looking down a massive list, roughly 99 beers. Anyways, give or take none,
Yeah.
and saying, have we had that one yet? Because we run into that a lot.
Yeah.
But
It's tough.
anyways, and sometimes I'll be so convinced too. I'm like, dude, we've already done that one. And you're like, it's not in the spreadsheet. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure we've done it. And I know good damn well that if it's not in the spreadsheet, then we haven't done it.
Yeah.
But again, back up a couple weeks. For a second, we didn't know. We just were
didn't.
unaware.
We just went in blind. I had to record our scores in a separate Excel spreadsheet on my computer. I had to save it on my own hard drive on my computer. Can you
The
believe
fuck?
this? What the hell, Microsoft?
Why are they even selling it with hard drives anymore? All that shit's in the cloud. But um yeah, so it kind of shut the world down, right? And so obviously for what I do for work, a ton of people were impacted by flights. Like it was ridiculous. Like they just didn't exist anymore, and then you couldn't get them for like 3 days or 4 days. Like it was terrible. Okay.
Yeah.
Except for one particular airline.
Oh yeah.
And here's the reason. So Delta, American, United, all of the elite airlines, because they run on the most updated software, was like, hey, our shit went wonky. Meanwhile, Southwest is just fucking shipping them out because they run on a DOS system. There's a dude back there with a crayon just writing shit down.
They're back there doing the freaking stop.
Dude.
Beep 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 stop.
Yes.
Beep.
Bro, if you look at the back end of a Southwest system, it's a bunch of Tamagotchis that are just like tied together. If this one beeps, then that one beeps.
They got the monitors up front running on a freaking Super Nintendo, dog.
Yeah.
They're using a brick controller up there to fly that plane.
It's even down to their walkie-talkies. Everybody else has like the quick, effective clip system. They're pulling out the fucking bricks. You got to talk in this end and here and this.
A couple of them got satellite phones on them.
Anyways, dude, I just thought of this one. This is a good. If you were like a stand-up comedian, this would be solid. Southwest is so outdated that the tires on their planes have white walls. But anyways, Southwest, because their technology is just so far behind, they were not impacted at all, which is counterintuitive to the story. Like, I don't know, 6 months before, where all of their shit shut down because they were forced to update one of their systems because of just
incompatibility or something.
Incompatibility, right? They no longer service the technology from the 70s. So, long story short, Southwest wins in this case, but not enough to redeem them. They're struggling. They're having issues. They're changing their entire model away from what historically was Southwest over to the model of some of the larger competitors.
Yeah, it's a sad day. I'm not a big flyer, so I didn't get impacted by that, obviously, but I did get to see all the memes and live through all that, and yeah, and then I saw that they were going away from their their system that's been working for so long, and a lot of people are upset about it. And like, I mean, I guess I don't really fully understand the system. I guess it's just like a first come first serve thing that they were doing.
So the way that it works with Southwest is obviously if you have status, then okay, so it's all based on when you check in, right? So if my flight and everybody has the same, I take that back. There might be some status that's in there, but for the lay people, right, that travel periodically that don't do it every day with Southwest,
Yeah.
if my flight tomorrow was at 9 p.m., okay, then at 9 p.m. tonight, I have to click a button that checks me in for my flight. And based on the order in which you click that button, everybody that's on the plane, it tells you the order at which you board. Not your seat, but the order at which you board. Okay? There's 3 groups. Well, there's 4 technically. There's the A group, all right, which again, if you're a frequent Southwest flyer, means you get to sit anywhere on the plane, okay? If you are of the B group, which is the second group, that means that you will sit in the back of the plane, right? And then if you are the C group, which is the last group, that means you're sitting in a center fucking seat, okay? Because everybody's already on the plane, all right? That's not what it really stands for, but honestly.
Let's be real.
And then there's the A-list preferred, okay? And the A-list preferred is basically you are a frequent flyer, and so no matter when you check in, you will always be A1 through 15.
First, yeah.
Right. And then otherwise there's A1 through 60, there's B1 through 60, and there's C1 through 60. Okay? Yeah. And so when you get to the airport, if I check in today and mine's B49, I don't know, for some reason. I used to fly Southwest all the time, so I was A-list preferred and I was always at the beginning. But now I don't. I fly them only if I have to, but I still always get between B38 and B49. Always. Okay? And so when you show up, there's a line of columns and it's like 1 through 5, 6 through 10, 11 through 15, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And you just, and it's kind of, I mean, it's not awkward, but like, you kind of have to, like, when you get in line, you have to like show people like, bitch, I'm 15 and you're 16, so you're behind me, right? And you just line up, and then when you get on, you get a random seat. Like whatever seat's available, you have to take. But again, like I said, if you're A, you can sit anywhere. B, for the most part, it's going to be the back of the plane, but you're still going to be able to get a window or an aisle seat. And then C, I mean, fucking highly unlikely, but you're going to be sitting center, okay? Unless it's just a not very full flight. But you can also, so there was iterations of this, right? So way back in the day, it was every man for themselves. It was all ABC. Just like you click, and you as soon as you click, you get. And then they were like, hey, how do we reward the people that fly with us every single day? Well, let's give them preferred status, okay? So no matter when you click, if you are a frequent flyer, you're going to be 1 through 15 or 1 through 20 or whatever. Yeah. And then they were like, all right, times are getting kind of tough. What if we let people pay extra
to pick their
seat? Be A1, no, not to pick your seat, but to be A1 through 20 and to upgrade, right? So there was a couple of different iterations. I will say this, I don't do it anymore because of the pandemic. I think I've talked about this maybe personally outside of the pod exhaustively, but there was a time where if you were flying them religiously, like the first year that I flew them, or like all the time, the perks aren't crazy. Like, you don't get access to a lounge because they don't have that. You don't get access to any, but what you do get is a ton of free drink tickets.
Okay.
And then also companion pass. So if at United, like I'm a 1K, right? So usually I'm going to get upgraded to first class. Usually I'm going to get, if I'm by myself, I can have 8 people fly with me. We have to pay for tickets, but 8 people fly with me, either on points or with tickets, and we're all going to be in preferred. Not first class, but preferred, right behind, right? Every single bag for all of those people will be free, right? So there's a lot of perks that come with being United. And then obviously access to lounge and like credit card perks, whatever. But with Southwest, the one thing that they have, if you used to stick with them, it was called companion pass. Okay. And so basically, after you hit a status with them, not only are you A-list preferred and you board first, but your spouse flies for free.
Oh my
with you,
God.
right? Which could be infinite, which is crazy. You do have to pay the taxes, right?
Yeah.
But I could book a flight from here to Seattle for a 2-day turnaround, and it's free for your spouse to go with you, and they board with you, right?
That's pretty insane.
And at the time, it was awesome because the other thing too is, and I'll give again, this is probably going to change with their new model, and this is what worries me. But what I loved about it for what I do for work, that I used to joke, and it seems offensive, but it's awesome. They are the Greyhound of the sky, dude. Like
Yeah.
literally, I can not, I will be checked in, walk into my gate, not that I've done this, and just fucking miss it. And they're like, no worries, pal. Come back in 45 minutes, an hour. We'll get you on the next one.
We'll get you
You
on
know
the
what I mean?
next one.
Yeah. Or you know what? Hang out. We'll get you tomorrow. And I'm like, and I don't, no, we don't change. They're like, nope, don't worry about it. Right.
Oh my
So
God.
it's very good for flexibility, right? There's also no change, truly no change fees, right? Like there were a lot of perks. The problem is that when the pandemic hit and travel really got stretched, I went through a situation where there was just a ton of connections. Used to, I could get some pretty good. Dallas obviously is a massive hub, but I just there's too many connections now, and the price increased. Not
Yeah.
even for A-list, so it's like now if I'm gonna pay that and I'm gonna have connections, I'm gonna jump on a United and just fly straight. You know what I mean? For
Yeah.
less cost, and obviously the perks that you build over time with them. That airport's closer to the house, so it's very sad that it played out that way, but it's long-term impact, I think, of people getting out of travel in general, and they were already probably very tight with margins anyways because they were always the affordable airline. You know,
Yeah.
we're out here, we're having a blast. It is very fun, I will tell you that.
It's very,
But
yeah, because that's what they kind of prided themselves on was the experience more than
yeah,
anything. The
the
services
experience,
they offer or whatever.
100%, and like customer service. Obviously, I have not had a bad experience really with United, but super friendly. Like at the end of the like, we screwed up your flight. Oh, don't worry about it. Like we'll take you and 70 family members and put them up at the Ritz or whatever. Like until we get this figured out, right? Like that. It was always just customer first. First, I think over the years, as leadership has changed, like any big company, man. I mean, it gets tougher and tougher to make money, and margins get tighter and tighter. And so we're seeing a lot of that play out right now. But one more Southwest story before we get into moving on. I told do my this. I've been sharing this with way too many people, and it's just freaking hilarious because it's just so true. But not only technology related, but I just saw this tweet. It's been a little while back now, and I think it's Hoobastank, but I can't remember exactly. And I say that every time I tell this story. But it says everybody's worried about AI taking our jobs, and literally it's just a tweet from Hoobastank, and it just says, "I'd love to see AI manage 3 layovers with Southwest to open up a city festival for train." And I was like, "Fuck me, that is perfect." It ties right back into the Eli Young band where they're at in their career.
Yeah.
But I just love the way that they were able to self-deprecate and be like, you know what? AI can do a lot of things, but it can't just be a shitty, no longer has it band that's just struggling to make it through. And I was like, you're
Yeah.
right. Some things you can't take away.
It is kind of, you never think about that aspect of it where like there's bands that were once popular where now you can probably catch them on a Southwest Connection flight from Georgia to South Carolina or something, you
Yeah.
know?
Like, dude, I think about it right now. Like, again, I'm not saying that Southwest is trash, but like, occasionally you see people, especially if I go into like LAX or if I go into Chicago, like you will occasionally see someone via
Yeah.
United, maybe not on your flight, but at least at the airport, right? Like the Astros fly United. Are they ever in the airport? Absolutely not. They have a whole separate terminal. However, sometimes you can see their plane and see them get off the plane because for some reason they do it in a fucking tarmac and then come into the thing, right?
Yeah.
So that's crazy, right? But no, I can't remember the last time I was on Southwest and I saw. I mean, I could just. What if you sat next door to like you just sat down and you were like, and you looked over, and you were just like Smash Mouth. I mean, I guess obviously R.I.P. now, but still, you're like Smash Mouth, what? Or
Like,
Train?
that 9 Inch Nails?
Trent Reznor? Really? This is great.
Man, what are y'all doing on here? Man, times are tough, brother. Times
Yeah,
are
bro.
tough. Streaming really took the money away from us, you know?
Yeah. Meanwhile, you've got. I mean, it's just so funny because you're right. What would be even more hilarious is if you were like in B15 and like the way that the pillars work on the other side of 15 is like 30, right? Because of the way they work.
Yeah.
And just on the 30 side, that's where the freaking Hoobastank guys were. Not only are they flying Southwest, but they're like B60 just because
Yeah.
they're even more normal. That's hilarious.
They're like, yeah, we forgot to check in.
Yeah.
Got in a little late on this one. We were having a wild night last night. I had about 3 beers.
You guys aren't A-list preferred yet? They're like, nah, normally we just Uber back and forth to where we're going.
Yeah,
So all local
usually
shows?
we're not going out of state for these, but when the money calls, we
Bro,
fly Southwest.
I wonder how many tour buses get bought back, right? Because everybody
Oh
starts on
man.
a tour bus, right? And then they get into planes, and then
Yeah.
later on in the years, they're like, dude, you guys got to come check out this transit. We got it set up, dude.
Dude, imagine like the city just buying like an old tour bus for transit and it's just got Nickelback across the side. Nickelback World Tour or whatever. North American Tour. That would be iconic. Instead of changing it, they just add like if it's Houston, they just add like Astros hats to all of them. You know what I mean? Or like Texans hats or something. That would be iconic. People should do that. That'd be great.
Bro, I mean, that's just being efficient. Everybody's talking about recycle and reuse. I mean, that's just being efficient is what that is.
Yeah. You think like a city could get sued for that though?
You think Nickelback? First off, Nickelback has already said openly to everyone that they don't care. Use our songs, use our
No, well,
images. It's good PR.
I'm not saying. I mean, I'm sure Nickelback wouldn't care, but like, if like who there's a like if it was Jay-Z or something, right? Like if it was
Oh, I'm
Jay-Z,
sure.
clearly he's a New York guy, right? And so
Yeah.
yeah, and so like if someone from like California bought a tour bus and instead of changing it, they just put an LA Dodgers hat on him, you think
Ooh,
he could
that's
sue
tough.
them or sue
I can
whoever?
almost I can almost guarantee, depending on if he owns the right to the bus, but I'm gonna be honest with you. Jay-Z's the kind of cat that I doubt ever traveled in a tour bus. Okay.
No, I can't.
But I get what you're saying. But that bus doesn't exist.
Yeah,
You
no.
mean maybe if LA bought that fleet of planes that had his face on it, then maybe so.
Yeah. Yeah, the fleet of private jets. Yeah.
Yeah, he's just driving around. He's like, we don't even fly in that one.
Man, that's the old model.
That's the one that just flies in the sky before us. Just
they
that kind
just
of thing.
they just do that plane was just for my pre-show. It just flies
What
over and drops confetti down or something.
One thing I think of though, dude, last thing, and then we can get into where we have to get into. But when I think of, and I do it more frequently with Jay-Z than I do with other famous people. I would love to like just the normal parenting things, and I know obviously they have people probably helping them because they have the means to have people help them. But I would just love to see Jay-Z deal with like a 5 o'clock pickup from daycare, straight up meltdown where a child wants candy and McDonald's. Like I
Oh,
just
I'm
want to
sure they've
see
done it.
him
I'm
do what?
sure I'm sure they've done it.
Oh yeah, I mean I'm sure, 100%. It's
Despite having
just
the
so
money.
crazy to me.
Yeah, well, despite having the money and the
It's just so
resources to be able
crazy to
to
me
do
that
it,
it's an actual thing that could happen.
I guess, but I mean, it would be kind of funny. Imagine like going out as a teacher or something, being
What?
like imagine going out as a teacher or something and it's just Jay-Z out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Dude, I just think of like those everyday things. You know what I mean? Like occasionally the things where they're just like he serves them a plate and they're like, I don't want apples. And I'm like, how does Jay-Z deal with that? Is like a father, or does he still have his mentality? Like
Yeah.
does he keep his bearings about him, I guess is my question.
Yeah, that would be interesting. We need that kind of reality show, I think.
Yeah, just
As-
but don't script it, don't pump it up, don't make it more
No.
than it is. I just want to see him in his everyday element.
And it doesn't, and I'm not saying it needs to follow them specifically. I'm saying let's do one episode per, married
Famous person.
celebrity couple that has children.
Yes.
Family life, celebrity family life. Every episode is a different family.
Dude, one other thing too is like, like we're all human beings, right? And so like there's got to be like in line, obviously they are basically made of money, and they like the way, they pick clothes because they like the way they feel, and there's a status symbol thing. But like, what if Jay-Z wears like Hanes underwear because he just likes the way they feel? You know what I mean? They don't have to be silk, they don't have to be Gucci, they don't have to be Louis Vuitton. Yeah. He's just like, I like Hanes. Like, I want to hear him have that argument.
I like those Fruit of the Loom, bro.
Right, they feel that's the same comfort I grew up with. That's what I like.
I mean, I feel like a lot of people are like that, probably.
I know, but we don't know. We don't know until we see it firsthand.
Yeah. Jay-Z, what we're asking is, what underwear do you wear?
Yeah, I mean, if you're listening, bud, I assume that you are.
As non-weird as possible to ask that question, I'm asking that question.
Yes.
You know what I mean? These are the things we need to know. What underwear do you wear? And how do you handle dad situations? That's what we want to know.
Yeah, because everybody's asking the wrong questions. Like, what do you tell to somebody that wants to be successful? How did you become successful? How do you get the creative juices flowing? Meanwhile, I'm like, how do you feel about McDonald's meltdowns, and what kind of underwear do you like? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Also, this one always gets me, right? This always gets me is, are celebrity dads like a normal dad in the sense of the carefree nature of walking around in their underwear, right?
Probably.
Or are they in like shows? Are they wearing their full set of pajamas out there for morning breakfast routine?
I'm gonna say it's probably normal. I'm gonna have to say that it's normal. The other thing I think of is like obviously being, having a spouse, right? That like in the Jay-Z situation, right? That's famous. Like, how many times does he walk into a room where she's giving the child a lecture about something? He has no idea what's going on. And she looks at him like, are you going to tell them something? And he's like, what the fuck do you want me to say? Like every other American. Like, how often does that happen? Or is he just more prepared? I don't think so. He's probably like the rest of us. But I just want to know how that dynamic goes down. She cuts him this look. Does he look across the room and go, that's Beyonce? Or does he go, fuck, I have no idea what's going on. Let me get my shit together. You know what I mean?
Yeah, probably the latter, if we're being honest here.
I can almost guarantee. It's just weird to think that he would have to that struggle as well. I know he's human, but I'm just saying.
I'm just thinking in like in the morning walk around in the underwear situation real quick is you're always got to worry about paparazzi as a celebrity. And so like, is that something, as you've been famous for so long and you're married to one of the most famous women on the planet?
Yeah.
Right? Are you just waking up and walking out in your whitey tighties?
Just saying fuck it because it doesn't matter?
It's my house still. I'm just going to get a cup of coffee or get the coffee started, crank the stove on, get ready for the morning. I'm going to walk out in my whitey tighties real quick and risk. Like, do you think about those things is what I'm saying? Like, or are you just kind of like, it's my house. I'm doing what I want.
I'm going to say he probably, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, we're not best friends.
All I'm saying is we've never gotten, as far as I know, a celebrity dad underwear in the house shot. That's all I'm saying. I don't think I've ever witnessed that. And that's just something that growing up, seeing your dad all the time, you've witnessed way too many times.
And why? Listen, it's not even the fact that they're comfortable, but also a lot of times they're like remotely surprised. And you're like, what are you surprised about? You're in your own home. Did you hear a noise? Like, why are you a little surprised all the time? You know what I'm saying, though?
Yes.
They're always like rushing into a room like, hey, what's going on? And you're like, what do you mean what's going on? The same shit that's going on when you're fully clothed. I don't understand.
It's so true. It's so true.
Like, what did you expect things to be different just because you're unclothed? No, it's a normal situation. That's weird. I don't know.
Oh man, I don't think I'll ever know until I'm a dad. I just don't think it's something that.
You guys hear something? Nope. All right. You sure? Yeah. Nope. Nothing. We're good. Appreciate it though.
Imagine being an intruder and getting shot by some dude in his underwear. You
Or just
know?
a lot of times too, it's just they'll run into a room and they're just like, "Hey," you're like,
What do you want for
"What?"
breakfast?
Yeah. What? Okay, cool.
How do you like your
Hey,
eggs cooked?
I'm gonna go get dressed and then make breakfast. Cool, bud. Could have come out ready. I'll be honest.
Could or could have just knocked. Didn't have to come in. You know?
Just so I bet you it does happen. I can only I will say even though we still need to confirm with him, highly unlikely that Jay-Z's in whitey tidies. He doesn't seem like that
No, I
classic of a
wouldn't say
guy.
that. That's just the funnier image to put in someone's head, so that's what I went with, you
It'd
know?
be hilarious if he was. And
Hey.
actually, I know I said earlier I don't want them to script anything, but that would be worth scripting.
Yeah. If you're gonna script one thing, script that into the show. For every single person. You know?
You guys awake? I can't even do it. I can't even do it.
Alright, we need to get in the WWYBDs here. I
All right,
almost
you want
just
to go first? I'm gonna do rankings first. You go first with
Yeah, I'll go first.
WWY.
I almost just choked on my beer. I think that's the first time that's happened. I almost had to spit beer out because I was laughing.
Yeah, there's a
Oh.
very small. I'm not good at impressions, but there's like a very small difference between Jay-Z and back when Wheezy was in his prime. Anyways, go ahead.
Yeah. Um all right, so for me, this is this is a we've talked a lot about like a gateway beer, right?
Gateway.
Where you kind of it's like if you want to maybe get in try like an IPA, this is kind of the thing for you. That's kind of how I feel with this. It's crisp enough with the like to be and still give you that pilsner, but you get a little bit of that IPA hit. So to me, it's a very specific. Like I'm not gonna have this every time I do this, but if I'm feeling like a little bit of an IPA, for some reason I'm seeing myself doing this while I'm doing yard work. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
like very specifically trimming trimming branches off a tree with an extend saw. That's what I saw. I was out there shirt off always, not in my underwear, not just in my underwear.
Very
Just
clear
this
here.
is very clear. I got shorts on and I'm out there cutting branches off, getting the canopies higher with an extended saw. And there's classic rock playing in the background because I'm probably with my dad. But this is the beer that I'm gonna go and take a sip of in between. Don't drink and use a chainsaw. This is just in my brain what's happening. But uh, only in a situation where I'm wanting an IPA beer.
But
You
it's
know what I mean?
not okay to have one. But it's gonna be too
Well,
heavy.
but it's gonna be too heavy, yeah.
I got you.
Because this gives me that crispness and like refreshing feeling with that little hit of like the hops that I would be craving in that moment.
Throughout that whole explanation, all I could hear when you said in the background was the Scorpions. Here I
Yeah,
am.
exactly.
I feel
You know
like
what? You know what? If I'm being
nothing.
honest with you, I might have been cutting those trees down with our cousin Joey. That's what I might have been doing with
Okay,
that
yeah.
song in the background. So,
So for me, it's a this is gonna be a lame one, but it's like a poker night with the boys, right? Because you want to be coherent. Well, at the beginning at least. Once you lose out, fuck it. Like it doesn't matter, right? But
once you lose out, give me the jack. I'm good.
yeah, at first you want to be coherent, but you want all the flavor. You want all the flavor, but you want um drinkability. And you drink. I know this sounds crazy, but I drink slower when I play poker. Like I don't. If I'm actually
Mm.
playing, right? If there's a bunch of hand, like if it's Hold'em or something where there's a bunch of hands where I'm like they're just shitty cards, then I will drink pretty heavy. But if it's like past the deck, I drink slower, but I want it to be full flavored. So this is a felt table, somebody's got the legit chips, $20, $50 buy-in, or maybe $20 buy-in or something like that. Low key, that it's a poker beer for me. I don't think it. I could see how it fits with you, but it's like all the flavor, but focus, lightness. It's kind of a mix of all worlds. So it can be done
Yeah.
with a lot of tasks where you need to kind of be focused, but you want all the flavor.
Yeah. It could very much be a situation where you want an IPA, but you're not going to drink a 6 pack of IPAs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, immediately I was like, so you're at like your lunch break, right? So you can't be you want the flavor, but you can't be crushing IPAs at
Yeah.
lunch.
Yeah.
So, dude, pick up a Stone Pilsner. Honestly, that should
Yeah.
be their get away with it. Stone Pilsner, get away with it.
Yeah.
Taste it all. That's what I'm
Yeah, there
saying.
you go. You know what I mean? That's a good one. Um,
Um,
yeah, all right, let's get into
Ratings.
the ratings here.
Yeah, I'll jump in. So entry, I have it of this was very again. I'll give scores per for everything, but overall, it was like what I expected. Elevated one. Does that make
Oh,
sense? For
okay.
what? Okay, so I don't know how you ranked it, but I have entry at a 4. I have aftertaste at a 4. Could have been a 5, only
Oh,
because I think it does get more flavor. Entry at a 4, aftertaste at a 4, body I have at a 4. It fits the mold for what you're getting up front in taste and up front for feel. Color I have at a 5, and here's why. It's a slightly darker tinge than all of the generic American Pilsners. Maybe that comes from the IBUs. Maybe that comes from the which I guess we have already said we had some above the 5%, but it was just like a little bit TV beerier than regular Pilsner, which is cool. TV beer is like always like I think Cheers, right? We talk about Cheers a lot. That's like
yeah,
salty fucking water that with food coloring, but it looks like a beer in the glass, and that's like sitcom beer. It has a
yeah.
sitcom beer color, which I think is great. Bitterness, I have it a 4. Acidity, I have it a 5. And then the only thing is fizz. I lock them in early, and I say this every week that I'm going to stop doing this. Fizz, I have it at 3. Honestly, fizz could have been a 2 for me. I didn't have a single burp or a single pull the whole time. So it has all of the makings, and dinner can impact this, whatever, but
Yeah.
it has all the makings of being perfect, but I did not get the reward. It's like a reward. I didn't get any of the reward from drinking it. So total here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 16, 21, 26, 27, 28, 29 is my total.
All right. I think this might be the first time maybe that I've had a lower score than you on a beer.
Really? Like drastically different? Like not like vomit different, obviously.
No, no, no. I very much enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I want to actually preface that before. I think this was something that I would drink again for sure.
Yeah. Oh, I
If I
forgot to
see it
say,
again, I would get
not
it
a
again.
fridge sitter. I would buy it again. I'll tell people about it, but I wouldn't be upset. There's some beers that you drink and you're like, you tell people about it and they're like,
Like,
yeah, whatever. And I'm like, no, shut the fuck up. You need to go get
yeah,
this. I don't know if I'd be so forceful with it, but
no,
I would buy it again and it's not going to be a fridge sitter. But if I was like, hey, y'all should try Stone Pilsner and somebody was like, I don't know, I'd be like, okay,
all
that's
right,
fine.
yeah, that's whatever.
Yeah.
So I think we've kind of stumbled upon the last 2 episodes here a little bit of a maybe in my brain a little bit of a misconnection in what I'm trying to do here with my ratings. And I'm really I'm trying to compare them to what I'm expecting from I'm trying to in this week's case at least I'm grading based on what I'm expecting from a Pilsner,
Okay.
right? Like clearly the IBUs are higher, so it's going to taste a little different, but like what I expect from a Pilsner is what I'm
Okay.
grading this on. And so entry and aftertaste, I have a 3. That's
Okay.
middle, that's solid. It's not necessarily exactly what I'm expecting, but it's not bad. So I'm not going to give it a 2, right? Body, I did have a 4 as well. I think
Okay.
it's good flavor. You get the Pilsner, but it can't be any better because of the extra bitterness that's added, in
Okay.
my opinion. Color, I have it a 5. I think it was pretty much almost spot on, for
Yep.
sure. Bitterness, I have it a 2 because it's
Because it's
way too
more bitter.
bitter.
I
But
see.
like I'm saying, I enjoy it. It's just
Yeah.
a lot more bitter than a Pilsner should be. Acidity, I have it a 4. I think it was pretty much, middle of the road. Nothing too great, nothing too bad. And fizz, I did have it a 2. Um, I experienced the same thing. I wouldn't give it a 1.
Yeah.
I think I had like 1 or 2 burps, but they weren't necessarily the most satisfying. And again, if anyone wants to take any of these categories listening with a grain of salt, it's always fizz,
Yeah.
because our dinner does always affect our score for that. And it might react different on a different stomach. Um, so my total is a 23. But like I was saying,
Okay.
I would buy again. It's not going to sit in the fridge. This is going to be one I'm drinking for sure. Especially because I do enjoy IPAs myself, but it's very hard for me to drink something that heavy in the hot months. And this is one that I could get
Yeah.
my IPA fix in the hot months during the year. So yeah, I got a 23 on this one.
Yeah. So one thing that I would say, back to your point, because I'm not saying this rocks the foundation of how we've been ranking, but I think more so because I'm not staying as disciplined. Um, well, I guess this isn't wrong, but I'm ranking based on. So in my mind, I said Pilsner, like rank it against a Pilsner.
Yeah.
But then also, there are categories within a Pilsner where I like other beer, right? So when I talk about bitterness and acidity, a Pilsner for me, even the perfect Pilsner, doesn't have the volume of bitterness and acidity that I would like. And so I
Okay.
combined the two together. I basically said, how does it rank versus a Pilsner? But also in Stefan's world, all Pilsners should be more bitter. Oh shit, this one's more bitter. So therefore the
Mm.
score is better. When in reality, I guess I should rank it versus just the Pilsner. So maybe
Mm.
it is just a 3, or just, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a hard way to explain it. I just, in my mind, I love, that's my favorite of all time is a Pilsner. But I think all of them could be a bit more bitter and could be a little more acidic. So,
Okay. All right. Well, I mean,
anyway.
that's good to know at least. I just remember because the last episode we did, I had a pretty high score, and we were pretty drastically different. But I think maybe that was just why. And now we know. So, all right. Well, we have gotten to that point in the podcast where I'm going to tell you to go follow us on social media, on Twitter and TikTok at Off the Tap Pod, and on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Off the Tap Podcast.
Go grab a gargoyled Pilsner, because Stone Cold said so.